afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers, industry leaders, policymakers, investors, and participants joining us today for this webinar on powering the future, solar energy, other renewable energies, investments, collaboration, and mergers. We are here today because the energy sector, especially renewable energy, is at decisive turning point. India has set ambitious target under its clean energy mission aiming for 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. With solar power as the backbone of this transition, recent policy measures from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy MNRE, including the latest ALMM approved list of models and manufacturers notification for solar PV cells and updated framework for domestic manufacturing highlight the government's strong push to reduce import dependence, encourage indigenous innovation, and accelerate deployment of next generation technologies such as TOPCon solar modules. This webinar is being organized to bring all stakeholders on a common platform to discuss not only the technological and policy development, but also the critical role of investments, collaborations, and mergers in shaping the renewable energy ecosystem. As the sector matures, capital flow, joint ventures, and strategic alliance will determine how quickly India and the world can meet their climate goals while ensuring sustainable growth. Over the course of this session, we will hear insights on the latest policy landscape, supply chain opportunities, investment trends, and the importance of global and domestic collaborations that can unlock the next phase of growth. On that note, let me once again welcome you all and thank you for being the part of the important dialogue on powering the future. A little housekeeping before I begin the Q&As. Please remain attentive and minimize background distractions to get the most out of today's session. You can post your questions at any time in Q&A box. We will address them during the Q&A segment towards the end. If you see any poll question pop up during the session, we encourage you to participate. Your responses may help the discussion more interactive and insightful. This program is currently live on YouTube. You will find our channel Metalogic PMS there. So feel free to share the link with your colleagues or friends who might benefit from today's discussion. This is Monica Bachchan, founder and CEO of Metalogic Projects Management Services. We have our panelists here, starting from Mr. Vikas Arya, Vice President, Technology and Innovation. Mr. Arya is a recognized thought leader in solar technologies and innovation. His expertise span advanced solar cell and module technologies such as TOPCon and heterojunction, digital solution for energy efficiency, and driving innovation in manufacturing. He has been instrumental in shaping technology adoption and R&D collaboration that strengthen India's renewable energy sector. We have Ms. Nishtha Gupta, Sustainability and ESG at Suzlon Energy. Ms. Gupta leads Sustainability and ESG initiative at Suzlon, one of the India's most prominent renewable energy companies. She's bringing deep expertise in aligning business strategy with global sustainability standards, driving climate positive actions, ESG disclosures, and stakeholder engagement. We have Mr. Anuj Kumar, Access Program Head at CEEW Council. Mr. Anuj heads program at the Council of Energy, Environment and Water, a leading think tank on sustainable growth and climate policy. He specializes in energy transition strategy, policy research, and international collaboration, providing data-driven insights to support decision-making in renewable energy climate solution. And last, we have Mr. Shatanshu Agarwal, Vice President of Greenco. Mr. Agarwal represents Greenco, one of the India's leading clean energy companies, pioneering large-scale renewable integration, storage, and decarbonization solutions. With his extensive experience in energy strategy and project execution, he has been at the forefront of scaling renewables and enabling India's transition to a carbon-neutral economy. So before I begin, I want to raise one poll questions to start with. And the question is on renewable and investment strategy. On your screen, Please start voting. Your first question is, which renewable energy source do you see as having the maximum growth potential for India by 2030? You have got four options: solar, wind, green hydrogen, bioenergy, hybrid storage solution. We have the next question underneath. What will drive the next big wave of renewable energy? Investments. You have got four options again: MNRE policies and government incentives. The second option is technology innovation, that is TOPCon storage digitization. Third is global collaborations and mergers. And fourth is domestic manufacturing and supply chain development. You can continue to vote. Meanwhile, I'll start with Ms. Nishtha. ESG has become central to investment decision, Nishtaji. How is Suzlon aligning its strategy with global ESG benchmarks? Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Monica. So over here, am I audible enough?
Yes, you're audible.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this question. So at least at Suzlon, we are the ones who are taking India to the world. Based in India and located in 17 countries, it's not just alignment towards the compliance, it's more about doing what is the best. And our mission has always been powering a greener tomorrow. So for the past 3 decades, we have been on this mission on sustainability, and this is not something new for us. When we talk about us as an alignment towards the global frameworks, we are there already in GRI, SASB. The bare minimum thing that we started our journey was, of course, Sustainable Development Goals. We are a signatory to United Nations Global Compact, so 100% the 10 principles are applicable for us. And being the top 150 listed companies, we are not just working towards BRSR disclosure, but also getting reasonable assurance, which means the highest level of assurance on the BRSR. Beyond this, when you talk about the international safeguards, we are trying to do almost everything, be it World Economic Forum, ESG indicators, UNEP principles, getting onto TCFD, IFRS, ESRS, even IFC performance standard, which is one of the best in class when you talk about renewable energy. That's something that we are working towards. And we are not leaving any element behind, be it double motility or working towards biodiversity aligned to TNFD. That's where Suzlon is working towards. So our mission is clear that we have to work towards sustainability and take it up to the next level. It's not for compliance. It's 100% for all the material topics that matters for us, not limiting ourselves only to the things which is on climate change, but also across huge gamut when we talk about waste, apart from environment on the social and governance. And we are very proud to be a partner very recently to Climate Group, wherein we are a member as well on renewable energy. That means 100% renewable energy by 2030, EV 100 by 2035. So for us, it's quite important, and we are trying to align to almost all the best in class principles, and the journey is still on. So the journey towards resilient future is ongoing, and we are making all possible efforts. So that's the journey of Suzlon, and we are working towards organizational, product, and supply chain. So these are three levers that we work on aligning towards the best in class principles.
Thank you, Nishtaji. Moving on, I will go to Mr. Vikas Arya, VP Technology and Innovation, Solar Module and Cell Business at Jackson Energy. Vikas, I request you to please open your camera. So my question to you is, given the recent ALMM List 2 notification for solar PV cells to become mandatory from 1st June 2026, with the caveat that the requirement comes into force 1 month after ALMM list publication, how do you see this impacting project planning, tendering, and the cost structure for developers and manufacturers? And what measures should the industry take now to ensure compliance without disrupting deployment timelines?
Hi, good afternoon, Monica ji. Good afternoon, everybody. I think we are in a situation today where India has established itself as one of the biggest market after China and US. And the kind of policies which are being driven by the government are in aligning with the capacities and capabilities that are being developed. So this list of ALMM for cells has given a significant hush up to two things. Number one, the manufacturers are coming in with the, expediting their plans for solar cell manufacturing. And at the same time, the developers and other companies are aligning themselves to see, how this transition is going to happen. So of course, any change comes with some kind of inertia and challenges. So it is not an easy thing to pass through. It will take some time. Manufacturing of solar cells is an art. It is a very process driven industry, unlike module manufacturing. So we are also learning the tricks of the trade as we are coming up with our own 6 gigawatt of cell plant. So this push by the government or this notification by the government has driven all the big module manufacturers to coming into cells, and we see a lot of announcements coming up, and also the cell manufacturing plants getting expedited. Now the challenge today is as the second list came 2 days back. So we have the online manufacturing capacity of around 15 gigawatt of crystalline modules and around 3 gigawatt of thin film technology. Now, keeping in mind that thin film is primarily for the US market and limited demand from India. So this 15 gigawatt is something which is available for the India market as of today. So as per our last meeting, which we had, which MNRE conducts every month, they are having a very close watch how this manufacturing is happening and how this is being established. So as of today, the forecast is that if this policy comes on 1st of June as per plan, so the capacities may not be sufficient to meet the demand immediately. But at the same time, government has given some relaxation to few projects. The projects which have been announced prior to 31st of August. So all those projects will be exempted for this domestic cells. So even if they are commissioned post June 2026. So that has given some kind of flexibility and some kind of room for the plants to come through. So as a manufacturer, we are all committed to ensure that we have the Made in India dream or the policy of the government, and all the manufacturers are supporting it very well. And as an industry, we are all collaborative and working towards it, making it happen. So any challenges which we are facing are being discussed at the minister level, and that is being addressed on top priority. So I am very sure the way ALMM for modules have been implemented 100%, and today we see more than 100 gigawatt of module manufacturing, which is already listed in ALMM. So similarly, we see that this 50 to 60 gigawatt of cell capacity in next 1 year. So that is the forecast which is available as per the current manufacturing capacities announced and different projects in different stages. So I think we are all ready to come out of it, and these challenges will be there. Next 1 year may be a challenging time before the industry, settles these things. On the price front, definitely, when it is made in India, maybe slightly expensive as compared to one-to-one from China. But that said, overall, if you see the cost of solar is still today the lowest. So I think we are in a position to take care of that, because somewhere we have to be independent. If we have to be independent, we have to have the supply chain available, so the infrastructure will be coming. So as far as I am concerned, I'm very much sure that with this kind of cell manufacturing coming up, the supply chain required for the cell manufacturing and other ancillaries are also coming up very fast. So once we have the entire supply chain ecosystem within the country, so all this delta of pricing will definitely be addressed, and we will be competitive in the global market. But yes, this next 2 years will be a challenging time, but I think we, as an industry, everybody is ready to face it and come out of it.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas. Anuj, can you explain us from a policy research perspective what gaps remain in India's energy transition roadmap and how it can be addressed? Anuj, over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much for having us here, be part of this discussion among all the esteemed people from the industry. I'll take a moment to just introduce about the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, also known as the CEW. CEW is among the world's leading climate think tanks. We are impacting sustainable development at scale with data, integrated analysis, and strategic outreach. We are doing so by bringing transformation through different initiatives, ensuring the quality of life is improved, and also enabling the ecosystem for a better future. We have been in India for over 15 years now, and till now we have impacted more than 400 million lives, worked with 11 union ministries, 20 state governments, have 115 government partnerships, more than 500 peer-reviewed publications, have been convening with different stakeholders for a long time. Coming back to your question, from a policy research perspective, I think the example that I would like to give is something where We are working right now, and there is a very flagship event of the Government of India, which is known as the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. And in this scheme, we are supporting the central government, as well as we are also closely working with two state governments, one in Uttarakhand and one in MP. And if you go to the PM Surya Ghar portal, you will find that it gives us steps that how one can avail the subsidy under the PM Surya Ghar and how one can install the rooftop solar. So there is registration, then you identify a vendor, then the discom officials will come to your house, they will do a inspection, and then it just gets installed. It looks very simple, but I think there are through the research is something which we have identified gaps where people who might be contributing in the energy transition are still lagging. And I think that is where, from the research, we are trying to plug that gap. So, for example, like what we uh, learned from this whole exercise when we were looking at from the consumer side, we saw that there has been enough number of applications. So if you look at it now, there are more than 62 lakhs applications, but on the ground there is around 16 lakh installations which has happened. One thing through our research, we found that awareness was a gap to bring this transition. So awareness, it seems like very simple, very easy, very easily it can be done. But I think that's the most tough task to do. Awareness, bringing people on board to take solar. And what we did was like we there were several initiatives, strategic initiatives that we did. There's one example that I would like to share is we came up with designed a solar van, and this was not just a solar van we take to any place and we talk about scheme, etc. But we created a route for that solar van. So there was a strategic way where we looked at where are the houses, where are the roads where you have enough energy consumption for people to take up rooftop solar, and there is enough interest also for them to take rooftop solar. So I think that is how we at CEW as a policy research think tank have been nudging customers to be part of this whole energy transitions. And I think the last 7 to 8 months where we have worked with these two states, we have actually seen them participating and making a contribution here. Maybe I'll pause here and happy to contribute later in the discussion. Thank you, Monica.
Sure. Thank you so much. Coming to Mr. Satanshu Agarwal, Satanshu Greenco has been at the forefront of energy storage and round-the-clock renewable power. How do you see India scaling storage solution in the next 5 years? Over to you.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. I think, Monica, we from long time have been a firm believer of energy storage.
Satanshu, there's some noise coming in from your side. I think connectivity.
Is it better?
Yeah, better. A little bit.
Yes. So, good afternoon, Monica. See, the point that we're making was we at Greenco have long believed that energy storage is a critical requirement for Indian grid. And we started investing into pumped storage assets as early as 2020. And we created some of the earliest RTC contracts for the metal industry. So incidentally, our first two contracts, RTC contracts, were one for a steel player and second one was for an aluminum player in India. So we very strongly believe as the proportion of renewable energy grows in individual portfolios at the national level, energy storage will be extremely critical. And I think we have seen the market growing significantly over the last 3-4 years. So from 2020, when we were the only one developing a pumped storage asset at large scale in India, we now see multiple developers taking up projects across states in India. Similarly, batteries are now coming up very, very extensively. So by 2030, I think there are various estimates, but if we were to consider 3 industry segments, which are distribution utilities, industrial decarbonization. So
sorry to interrupt, Satanshu. I'm still getting a lot of noise.
Let me switch to my iPad. You can continue the webinar. I'll just switch.
Yeah. I'll continue with the questions. Meanwhile, you please check the connectivity.
Sure.
So moving on to Ms. Nishtha, I want to ask you, Nishtha ji, what are the biggest challenges in implementing sustainability goals across India's energy ecosystem?
I think the biggest challenge remains, if I talk about the energy sector, I think most of them will agree it's on the supply chain. We talk about supply chain and talking about the next lever, and we all are taking it up on some or the other on decarbonization, helping many customers. But having said that, or the overall energy sector, one challenge is supply chain, which remains consistent across. So, are we talking about supply chain across all levels? Are we talking only about the critical suppliers, tier one suppliers, or are we integrating tier two, tier three suppliers as well? See, working on sustainability within the organization is pretty easy. You have your controls, right? But when you talk about working with your suppliers, talking about even getting your raw materials with traceability, ensuring that everything is being sourced with the ESG considerations, no human right violation. And I'm talking about not just E part of it, maybe conflict of minerals and many things that we can talk about, responsible sourcing per se. So on that, I think we should be mindful of. But beyond that, when we talk about social, the trickiest part is human rights. Are we aware as to where the supplier is? So is it a tick the box approach? Are we integrating across the supply chain? Or do we have targets, but it's not aligned with the suppliers that we have? That's one of the biggest challenge. Beyond that, of course, there are policy issues when you talk about, even the renewable energy, can we, have this integration across all states? That's another one. But I think the supply chain is one unique dimension that shares across all levels that stands even as is at this point of time. Though there are a lot of things which are changing with the BRSR when you talk about getting onto the tier one suppliers, working towards a sustainable supply chain assessment, but it should not be just a tick the box approach. You don't even know what your suppliers are providing to you. We don't even have the traceability of where they are. We don't even have understanding of which geography they are sitting in. We don't have a clarity of whether we are trying to evaluate a supplier at the parent entity, or we are talking about the site or the plant from where we are procuring. So I think that's the challenge when we talk about two things, more on the responsible sourcing, understanding on the traceability, and more on the human right violations. So on ENS, we should be more particular when we work with the suppliers. So that's where we are.
So I think moving ahead, I will carry on this question with Mr. Vikas also, given the requirements that module used in project must source solar cells from ALMM list 2, in addition to, being ALMM licensed modules. Where do you see the biggest supply chain bottlenecks? Could be at polysilicon or water, cell capacity, equipment scale, you can tell us. And what actions, public or private, are needed to build the resilient domestic cell to module supply chain, Vikasji?
So on the cell side, I think we are still on the learning curve. India is at the very initial stage of the cell manufacturing. So a few plants which have been commissioned, they had their set of challenges. They have taken a lot of time, and still the kind of efficiencies that are coming out is not in line with the standards that is expected. So there is a lot of, in terms of technical know-how, in terms of skill sets, in terms of machineries, in terms of raw material. So everything is still being, imported. So that is where we are today. So it is a steep learning curve is needed at a very fast pace for an industry sector, and and somewhere it has to start. So we can say this is the starting time of this learning curve. So the way industry is looking at it, the way different R&D organizations are coming up, like at Jackson, we also have our own small R&D team. So like us, many other companies are having their own R&D teams working on the alternative things, and with the government, MNRE, and the different IITs working on the new technologies coming up. So I think the ball has set rolling. So it may take some years, before it gets commercialized on the new technologies that are being developed. But as of now, all the new manufacturing of cell capacities that are being added to meet the module manufacturing or module demand here is on the established technologies that have already been done in China. So today we are just, falling on the established technology of China, dependent right from machinery to the resources are being sourced from there. But yes, instead of importing the cell, now it will be importing of wafers. Now, another circular has come last week where government is looking at, even wafer and polysilicon ingot being made in India, maybe 2 years down the line, from 2028. So government is very clear that right from, the polysilicon to the end module, everything should be made in India. So government is adding it step by step. It started from module. Now cell is getting implemented and draft circular for wafer has already come. So now all the manufacturers, even Jackson, we are also, looking at setting up the plant for wafer and ingot. So in line with the government initiatives, but of course, it needs huge capital investments and the way technologies are changing. So that is another big challenge for this industry because your ROIs are not coming. So before the time, you even get the return on your initial investment, the technology is upgraded. So that is the biggest challenge the solar industry is facing. So one positive side is it is getting upgraded, the technology are changing, and we are getting more efficient modules and cells at a very fast pace. The last 1 decade, the technology evolution which was there, maybe let us say from 2010 to 2022. So last 3 years, that evolution has been at a much faster pace. So these are the few challenges which industry is grappling with. But at the same time, we are very much, keeping a close eye and how we are upgradable to the new technologies, how new things are happening. I would say this is a phase which is a learning phase for the Indian market. But presently, yes, we are dependent on outside world for setting up these technologies in India. But maybe, if we talk 3 years down the line, things will be much different. So today, for module lines, we don't need any kind of, very hard cut technology. We know the processes, we know the things which are critical for it. We know what is exactly required. Today, we are in a position to ask the machine suppliers, or the equipment suppliers, or the bomb suppliers. This is what we are looking at, but not in cell as of now. But yes, cell will catch up, and as soon as we go to wafer, 2 3 years down the line, and this polysilicon plants coming up in India. So once that infrastructure is totally developed, so I think we will be one of the biggest exporters to the global market because all these capacities that are being added, that is much more than the Indian demand. So if the demand is not catering to the global market, then it will be a very challenging phase for the manufacturers. These investments will remain underutilized because the demand in India is not more than we see to 30 to 35 gigawatt, but we have more than 100 gigawatt of module installed and cell capacity increasing 60 gigawatt within next 1 year. So therefore, very close watch or very clear cut notice that globally, yes, solar is going to expand, and then we should be there as one of the major exporters to the globe and supplying a good quality product. So that is another commitment, from Jackson also. We are very clear. We have to be best in the industry. So till the time we are not meeting those requirements, you will not be able to survive in the market, and you will not be able to have the good customers or good countries looking at you. So I think that is where we have learned a lot in last couple of years, and it is a continuous improvement. Every, the customers who visited us 2 years back and then visited us last year and visiting us this year. So there is a huge change, they are looking at it, and we are also committed to make the best of the improvements as the technology evolves.
Right. Vikasji, thank you. Shatanshuji, are you there? Can we take up the question? Yeah.
Uh, Hope so, Matika.
Yes, now it is very clear. So I'll
Great.
start with my first question only because we could
Yes.
not hear you properly. So my first question was Greenco has been at the forefront of energy storage and round-the-clock renewable power. How do you see India's scaling storage solution in the next 5 years? That was my question. Yeah.
Thank you, Monica. We remain extremely confident on the need and the development of energy storage in India. I think Greenco was among the very first companies in India to understand and identify the requirement of energy storage in Indian market, and we started investing into the our first pump storage asset in 2020 itself. And incidentally, some of the earliest contracts that we created on the storage, the RTC contracts, were for the metal industry. So we are supplying almost 200 megawatt of energy storage capacity to a steel player, and another close to 150 megawatt to one of the aluminum producer in India. So we have always believed that round-the-clock supply is a very critical solution for industrial clients because decarbonization is a theme which is being adopted by almost everyone, and we're seeing that trend only increasing. And for a viable, efficient round-the-clock supply solution, you would need to integrate energy storage with the renewable energy sources. So I think we only see this going forward
To our mind, if you were to look at the three segments in Indian market, utilities, industrial clients, and some of the newer users like green molecules, data centers, etc., to our mind, the requirement for energy storage could as well be up to 300 gigawatt hours. And that's a huge scale up from where we stand today. And there'll be multiple technologies which will coexist. Pump storage, to our mind, is an extremely efficient energy storage technologies for round-the-clock solutions. And from the government side, there has been significant support and incentives both to pump storage plants and battery technologies. So I think the demand is there, the supply is there. The ecosystem is maturing. PSP ecosystem is fairly advanced in India. I think it's a derivation from hydro sector. So in terms of engineering talent, suppliers, it already exists. Battery, we are still import dependent, but I think what we have seen in solar modules, the way industry has the domestic industry has grown and there is now significant capacity which has been built in India. I'm sure the same thing will happen in battery. We are perhaps early in that stage, another 2-3 years. But yes, even battery ecosystem will eventually grow in India as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sudhanshuji. So we have the poll results now. I'll share the results with you all. So our first question was on the renewable energy and investment front. Which renewable energy sources do you see as having the maximum growth potential for India by 2030? 45% majority has voted for solar. And the second highest is hybrid and storage solution, which has got 26%. My second question was what will drive the next big wave of renewable energy investments? We have got the maximum voting on 31% as MNRE policies and government incentives. And the second highest we have received on technology and innovation. That is an example of TopCon storage digitization. So moving on to Nishtha ji, because Nishtha ji has to leave a little bit early. I want to ask my final question to you. Beyond compliance, how can ESG drive innovation and profitability in renewable energy companies? Nishtha ji.
Thank you, Monica, for this question. I think this is on us, how do we represent to our team and to the organization? Because till the time we come up on ROI, nobody's going to be convinced. So it's not going to be that, everything will happen, let's say, after 20 years down the lane. There has to be a bit of initiative that we need to keep on taking on what's going to give us maximum ROI without CapEx, with CapEx, with the initiative which will be driving across E and S and G. There could be minimum things like energy efficiency, which can give you highest returns. So that is something that is a quick level that we should be working on. Not only being dependent on, let's say, on the net zero that will be achieving net zero by 30 years down the lane, but working towards, of course, a carbon reduction strategy, working towards associating with what is the return that we are getting, how the profitability is really helping us to drive on. Let's say your electricity bills are reducing, no? That's anyways giving you an edge on what you never anticipated in the beginning. Your water consumption you never thought of, and that's just changing with the changing paradigm that you were expecting this much of amount to incur on your expenses year on year or month on month. And those are some quick levers that we need to work on the operational revenue and how exactly you are incurring maximum benefit out of it. And of course, when we talk about initiatives, be it environment, be it social, that we are working towards the CSR, it's not just, working on one side of the table and only with the NGO partners. It's more about working towards the returns of investment. So I think independent ESROI, the environmental social return of investment, is also must, which we should definitely work on each and every initiative, whether it really made an impact on ground or not. It's not just investing in something or, thinking about a new technology that it is going to really pick it up. It will not pick up immediately, but you have to come up on the ROI perspective in the short term, in the midterm, and the long term. And without this, no ESG consideration can really pick up in any organization, I would say, because meeting even the internal stakeholders is as critical as meeting the requests of the external ones. So when we associate these one and when we actually work out on the reputational risk and we work out on the risk management, even on the profitability side of it. So basically the financial risks are getting clubbed with the ESG risk. I think this is going to be a lever that we can work it out across many organizations, including the energy sector. Even working towards supply chain, let's say when we are working with some suppliers which are we have been very used to, and we haven't found out any alternatives. And God knows, that we already have some alternative already available in India. And we try working with MSMEs, local supplier, that is first going to reduce your cost immediately, right? So in that, we need to explore even with the vendors what is happening around in the other ecosystem. When we work even at the product level, when we see to it, whether we can get more local suppliers who are working towards sustainable sourcing, and we have alternative suppliers built up already in the database, then you have not just choices, but you also can reduce the cost. So that's the way that we can work on across integration from end to end. When we talk about either energy sector, which we talked about in the supplier, the traceability principles, solar cells, wafers, and even in the other renewable energy sector, and also across all the ESG considerations so that we don't leave any silos and everything we are focusing on, not just on E, but also giving a due emphasis on S and G.
Right. Thank you, Nishtaji, for giving us so much insights about sustainability and ESG and what kind of challenges are being faced on this. I'm now heading towards Mr. Anuj. Anuj, if you could tell us how can think tanks like CEW help bridge the gap between the government policy, corporate ambition, and on-ground execution?
Thank you, Monica, for this question. And I think the way we as think tanks think about is to address any gap in whether it's energy transition or in any other area is to have the right set of questions for research. And I think in our experience, like when you have enough evidence from your research and at the same time, there has to be a solution for the same. And at CW, it's not just we ended the research, but there has to be some action which has to be taken. So from a think tank to an action tank is what we look at. I would just like to give an example to connect all of these, the government policies, the industry and the on-ground execution to your question. And we have the industry colleagues here. And what is very important is to build the trust among the government, among the industry, and also with the customers as well, so that we are able to ask more questions and then we are able to address key problems with them. There is something which we are doing on ground now. Again, this is an example from the PM Surya Ghar scheme, where we want to understand whether the beneficiaries who have adopted solar rooftop, how much are they actually benefiting from it, and the lens that we are looking at is whether they are practicing operation and maintenance which the vendors have given it to them. So how well they are maintaining the solar panels, because I think that is an area where one can optimize the solar generation, which is going to be beneficial for all of them. And what we felt during that exercise is that yes, there is a need to nudge the existing rooftop solar installers to go towards better maintenance practices. And the way we as a think tank we see is that let's say if there is the rooftop solar generation is optimized, the government who gives subsidy to its citizens, they are happy. The industry who are doing business through the customers by installing solar rooftop, they are happy that the customer is happy. And at the end of the day, the consumers who have believed in the industry and the government policy, they are also happy at the end of the day. So I think that is the role we as a think tank play by working very closely with the industry, with the government and the consumer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anuji. I'm raising another poll question to our audience. The questions are on your screen. The question is, from the perspective of industry challenges and future outlook, what is the biggest challenge for renewable energy scale up today? You have got few options: supply chain dependency, financing and investment risk, policy and regulatory uncertainty, technology adoption speed, land acquisition and infrastructure. You have question number 2 in front of you. By 2030, where do you think India will stand in achieving its 500 gigawatt renewable energy targets? So you have got options like on track, will achieve, slightly behind, but close, significantly behind, will exceed the target. So meanwhile, the audience is voting. I'll move on to Mr. Satanshu again. Satanshuji, I want to ask you, what challenges do you face in integrating large-scale renewable energy into India's existing grid infrastructure?
So, Monica, I think the usual project risk which you face, I think at least till now, I can say that the investment that India made on the transmission network has been extremely beneficial for all of us, including Greencore, in our ability to create solutions integrating large scale solar wind energy storage. So it has worked very well till now. I think there were some enablements to that in terms of ISTS waiver and the ISTS infrastructure that was being built out. Now, there are these two paradigm shifts which are happening in the Indian electricity sector. The ISTS waiver is now gradually being eased out, and ISTS connectivity is also at premium now. So I think all of us, as consumers, solution providers, will have to rethink on how we continue to provide these scale solutions. So people will have to go more innovative in terms of how and where to locate solar and wind assets, how to best optimize between state connectivities, central connectivities, how best to design projects. So I think till now it has been good. There were various enablements from governments, both from policy, infra, cost, fiscal incentives, which allowed industry to reach where we are today. But henceforth, I expect us to not find this as easy. We will have to innovate, we will have to optimize, and be conscious of the cost that we impose on the overall electricity sector, right? All these ISTS waiver eventually needs to be paid by someone. So it's also our responsibility to optimize them going forward. So I at least expect energy storage to be greater proportion of the supply solutions that will come up. We all will be more judicious with the kind of connectivities that we seek. And of course, there'll be a lot of innovation which will be required to continue providing solutions at scale.
So talking about innovation, Vikasji, my question to you is, with the industry actively transitioning towards advanced module technologies like TOPCon to boost efficiency and meet domestic manufacturing goals, and given the increasing constraint on importing Chinese solar module and cells, how should Indian manufacturers strategically position themselves? And what technology roadmap do you believe is most viable in the short to medium terms?
Okay. From the Indian manufacturer's point of view, today, out of 100 gigawatt, I see more than 25 gigawatt plus is already shifted towards TOPCon. So, and all the new capacities which are being added on the solar module is all, capable for the TOPCon modules. And even monobuck lines also, many of the monobuck lines are getting upgraded to TOPCon. So on the technology front, at the module manufacturing, I could say, yes, we are, as an industry, is ready for the latest technology product. Now, the next change on the module, which is likely to be seen, or maybe which is likely happening on the potential which is coming in next 2-3 years, we see there is a technology of back contact. Now, back contact is slightly different than TOPCon. You need to change the stringers, which is again a big investment for the module manufacturers. Another we are discussing is perovskite. So this is another technology which is right now not on the commercial side, but yes, it has been proven that this is something which is feasible, which can be done. But both these technologies seems to be 2 to 3 years away as of now, because they have got their set of challenges. The processes in both the cases have not been fully established, or the challenges have not been fully addressed. So for next 3 years, 3 to 4 years, I see TOPCon as the major technology which is going to continue, and the most cost effective and most efficient technologies for modules as well as cells. So that is why we see all the new cell manufacturing that are being added, they're all TOPCon. And now the upgradation of TOPCon to the next level is still a debate happening. What is the right technology today? So the next going forward is tandem. So tandem is still 4 to 5 years away from today. So this is evolution which is going to happen. So as at Jackson, we have announced our manufacturing in 2 phases, keeping this energy change trend happening. So our new first phase of 3 gigawatt is going to be commissioned next year, which will be fully on TOPCon, and the next 3 gigawatt will be taking a decision, once this line get commissioned. so that we are aware what is the new technology which is getting added. And the next 3 gigawatt will be taking care of the next upcoming technology. So this is evolution which is happening, and this is a learning curve. So this is the positive side from solar as well as challenges also, because the technology is changing very, very fast. And keeping, your equipments, all the processes ready for the future, ready is not as simple as possible or easy to, as we can say. So there are a lot of challenges which are accustomed today. But yes, a TopCon is something which is going to be a main showing my main developed technologies for next 3 to 4 years is very clear. But yes, it is a learning curve in progress. We don't know how things will change up. So this is what we can say as of now. TopCon for next 3 years, followed by maybe perovskite or tandem.
Right, Vikasji. And moving on to the similar kind of question, I will go to Mr. Anuj. Anuj, what are the upcoming technologies for India's long-term decarbonization goals?
Thank you, Monica, for asking this question. I think this is something which I will connect with Shatanshu sir. I think he spoke about energy storage, and I think going forward, all the renewable energy projects will have the storage component. I think it's going to go in a very big way, and uh, that is something that we are also seeing within while we interact with the industry. And so that is one. And I think it's very important to have the storage project because the pace at which renewable is being integrated into the grid, at the same time, we need the storage also to absorb it and use it in the peak hours. That is one. The second piece, I think, where we see a lot of push has been on the green hydrogen. So the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has been pushing on green hydrogen, and I think we have the National Green Hydrogen Mission, which has been a remarkable step towards making India into a hub of green hydrogen and its derivatives. So a lot of activity, a lot of engagement is happening on that side, and I think with Teminari, we recently had a 2 day conference on R&D for green hydrogen. That is there. There is also something which we all have been discussing in several forums, that land has been an issue. And the dual use of land, for example, there is something which is going to come up through the PM Kusum scheme, which has been running for a while, is how land can be used for both generation of power as well as for agriculture. So agro PV is also something which is going to come up in a big way as we make progress. The last piece is, again, I think there is some work happen in that space where again we want to uh, see how we can better utilize our land and water. And I think water, it connects to water. So floating solar is also something which is coming up. But what I want to add to it is again the storage part, whether it's with floating solar, agro PV, or with the regular wind and solar. I think the storage is going to be a game changer. And as we have been talking, I think there's a lot of development which has also happened in the market. So I think that's all that's going to be there. But we are in the initial years. They need some awareness, some push, some right policies, something to nudge so that these can take off. I think with that, I would like to end my point. Monica, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anuj. And moving on to Sudhanshuji once again. Sudhanshuji, we want to ask you from an investor perspective, what signals does the market need to accelerate private capital flow into clean energy projects?
I think one thing which is a bit of dichotomy in the sector today is while there is a steady pace at which renewable energy auctions are being conducted, they're not translated into power purchase agreements or capacity on ground. So I think that is one disconnect which has happened in the sector. This is still when the demand is growing. So I think issue is not of demand. It is perhaps the way, uh, I mean, and I'm only guessing what distribution utilities are thinking on this, but it perhaps is a commercial framework in those tenders which is not conducive for distribution utilities at this point of time. Demand, to my mind, is less of a challenge. But going forward, I think this is one area which will have to be cleaned up. There are some mixed signals which we keep throwing to the investors in terms of the significant push on fossil fuel generation capacity. And in India is now applying to put up a significantly large generation capacity, coal base, which to my mind is is not aligned with the overall idea. I think where we stand today and where we will be reaching in 2030 from a demand standpoint or even beyond, renewable sector has the necessary capability, infrastructure, resources to be able to meet that demand. So we need to be uh, very judicious on the supply mix signals that we continue putting out. Specific to renewable energy, I think we need to continue investing into the transmission infrastructure. That's a very big requirement today. I think if you were to think of IST as the intrastate network, I think it's very difficult to get connectivities anything earlier than 2930. So if you were to plan a project today, you can't bring it online before 2930, which obviously is a challenge. Now, there also, it's easier for me to say that the investment needs to make in transmission infrastructure. We as developers also need to be judicious with that. Uh, the system is not being very efficiently used now. So I think that efficiency needs to come from RE developers. So to cut the long story short, I think two, three things which I think are important is one, the continued investment in transmission infrastructure will be very critical to keep putting up new capacity. Second is the signals on supply mix. I think there we should leave it to market. We should not over plan it in terms of putting out specific targets on coal, RE, etc. I think the market is mature. The renewable energy sources have now become extremely cost effective. And if left to market, people will make right choices instead of over planning it and then giving mixed signals. That's from my perspective. On policy side, I think India has been doing well for last 8-10 years. There have been a lot of initiatives the government has taken, which is pro sector, not just pro RE, but pro sector. I think the policy push incentives have been there.
Thank you, Sudhanshu. So it's time to wrap up the webinar, but before we wrap up, I want to have a one key takeaway from all the speakers. I'll start with you only, Sudhanshu. What is your last key takeaway which you want to give to the audience? Any recommendation, any suggestion before we close?
I think from as an energy storage player and as someone who was involved in some of the earliest round-the-clock supply solutions in India, I think to the metal industry in general, I would say that they should actively evaluate these kind of solutions. Uh, I mean, to my mind, they are competitive now. One of the things which is often missed is that these are inflation-free solutions, fixed tariff for next 25 years, which has its own utility. And Indian renewable energy ecosystem is now extremely mature on all three legs, solar, wind, and energy storage. So if they're interested, I'm sure they will find viable and efficient solutions to meet their requirements.
Yeah. Vikas, one key takeaway from your side.
I think what I would like to state is that at the manufacturing level, we are definitely increasing, but on the sustainability and on the recycling is something where the government policy and guidelines are still awaited on the solar module end of life products. And all the resources which are being used in solar modules are not infinite, they are all limited. So having the proper recycling will help to have that, the cyclic economy of this product. And this is going to be a major, shift which is going to happen maybe 2-3 years down the line. So government is working on that, and we are also keeping a close eye on having a recycling and sustainability. What we discussed, what Nidhi was talking about, that is something which is very important as an industry. And second is on the skill set. So skill set is for the solar manufacturing, whether it is manufacturing or operation or maintenance. So everything, the demand is huge. We need a skilled manpower today. A lot of opportunities of job is there, but having the right skill set and having the right, training programs for the teams at different levels is very very critical for ensuring that all these manufacturing plants run at the optimum level and with the right skill set of people.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Anuj, over to you. Your last key takeaway.
Thanks, Monica. So I think the pace at which the things are moving, it's very, very fast. It's very dynamic. And as Satanshi and Vikaji have been saying, is that we are ready to observe the market. But at the same time, I think in the whole also, I think the right policies is something which everybody has nudged for it. So the right policies at the right time, I think we'll be able to sail in this energy transition journey for India. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much. And before we conclude, I want to share the poll results with you all. So the results of our last two questions were, so the question was, what is the biggest challenge for renewable energy scale up today? And the maximum 59% people have voted on supply chain dependency. And I think we have rightly acknowledge that in our discussion. The question number 2 was by 2030, where do you think India will stand in achieving its 500 gigawatt renewable energy targets? 41% have voted on track will achieve, and 35% have voted on slightly behind but close. And viewers, I'll tell you about the 2 events which are going to take place, the physical conferences coming up. One is of MRAI Sustainable Steel Conference going to happen in Goa on 9th and 10th of November and next to next month. So you please feel free to reach out MRAI team for the registrations. There's another event which is going to happen in the month of December is of Metalogic on modern logistics for metals and mining. So please reach out to our team to participate. That program will take place in Delhi at La Meridian Hotel. With this, I want to thank you to our esteemed panelists and guests who have taken out time from their busy schedule on Friday. I hope you enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much. We will meet soon and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you
Monica.
so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.